Oh, what's that? The music stopped? That must mean it's my turn to say hello and welcome back to the Hammerbarn Project. My name is Brendan and I have here with me Frank.
Hello there.
And I have sort of with me, because of technology, Martin.
Hello, I'm under the next layer.
If I were playing Past the Parcel and I unwrapped a layer and found a Martin, I'd be pleasantly surprised.
Hi, everyone.
I would
It's a
consider
big
that a
parcel,
prize.
in fairness.
I would consider that.
It is a
Especially if I'm just in a layer and not just one thing in the middle.
Yeah.
That's wow.
Depends whose rules you're playing.
Oh.
This episode of the Hammerbarn Project is called BIRDIE, KITE.
But yes, welcome all to the Hammerbarn Project. We are, of course, a bunch of friends who I'm sure you know by now.
No, what?
We're a bunch
on the
of
day of the week.
We are a bunch of acquaintances who love the show Bluey, and we know you do too because you're a human being with a heart that beats. So that means you are.
No, sorry, listeners. Sorry. He just left it open. He did.
It just left. I like to leave things open. You know, like inclusivity. That's the name of the game.
Speaking of names,
what is the name of the episode of Bluey that we would like to talk about today?
this episode of Bluey is called Lucky's Dad's Rules.
Hang on a minute.
AKA
Frank.
Pass the Parcel.
I was going to say, that's the first time you pulled that little trick where you've said something that's not the name of a...
Keeping you guys on your toes.
Tricky Frank.
It was the 80s. It was a wild time. Oh, sorry. Hold up that newspaper.
Although, that is sort of poignant because there is a reference to that. But I'll mention that when we get to it because we no doubt will. But before we get to it, we have to do what we always do. Martin, there are some bare bones, and I want to hear about them.
This episode is really just a commentary on the separation of childhood from adulthood, you know, the creation of childhood, really, as in the history of childhood described by James Martin, who talked about the idea of, you know, the childhood being something, it's only about a 20th century idea, really. Childhood is a bubble of separateness and fullness, you know, like it's innocence.
Ain't that the truth?
No, really. It's an episode in which Lucky's dad gets absolutely ripped apart for trying to change the way that Pastor Lucky's dad comes in.
Who was James? Who was James Martin? Who was James Martin?
James Martin is the author of The History of Childhood, a very short introduction.
Oh, there you go.
There are quite a few books entitled The History of Childhood. I was actually trying to find a book I read back when I was doing my thesis.
All right.
But I couldn't really find it. I'll have to go actually.
Is a very short introduction a little bit of a double entendre?
It's a bit of a dig at the kids, isn't
being
it?
really
It
short.
probably is. Yeah.
But that's
wow.
This James Martin character is clever.
See, I thought at first you said James Marsden, who's like, you know, the actor who's like Cyclops from X-Men.
I was just talking to your wife, Ali, before we started recording about James Marsden because the second Sonic movie is out, and he is such a babe.
Pretty much.
He's
still got
handsome man. But now what I've done is I've fixated on the part of the bare bones that's supposed to be just really quick and false and funny. And I completely cut you off from going into what you actually wanted to say about the episode, Martin.
Yeah. So it's an episode in which we're getting run through endless kids' parties, as you do.
Yeah.
And Pat decides that the way that they're playing Pass the Parcel's not right, so he's going to change it up and do it the correct way. And it's sort of finding out about how the kids feel about that and ultimately come around to it, which is interesting.
Yeah. I love what they do there for a couple of reasons that I would hope to remember to get into before this tangent. But isn't it great how well it captures that time in our lives when now we're all a bit older, most of us have kids, and it's interesting how parties come in like flows.
Waves.
Like we've been friends since we were teens, and so there was that time when everyone was having their 18th, and then there was the time where everyone was having their 21st. It seems like every other weekend you go and do a 21st, and now it's like gone full circle, and every other weekend you're getting an
Frank's
invite.
having his 60th in like, how many weeks is it?
Ooh, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I didn't see it going there, but I love it.
Yeah. P.S. I'm the oldest in our friendship group by like what 6? I think Damo Coyle is the next closest one to me. 6 months younger, but I'll cop all the old man jokes.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there are others in our group who have already gone bald.
Yeah.
I'm still rocking a full head of hair,
Yeah.
so take it for what it is.
Yeah, but you're a good sport about the old thing. You've always been old, Frank, to us. We remember we were making old jokes about you when you were like 24.
Exactly.
Oh, now my kingdom to be 24 again. 24 is sweet. When I turned 25, that was the age where I went, okay. So I've been an adult for quite a while now, still pretty much doing the same thing I was doing when I was 16. Better get my act together. And now I'm pushing 40 and not much has changed.
Speaking of not much has changed, Pat hasn't kept up with the rules of Pass the Parcel as an adult,
he's taken
as a
a task by Bandit for it.
It's almost, and he's completely oblivious. He's like, oh yeah, this is how you play it, and everyone, Chili, Bandit, all the other parents, they're just like, mate, where you been?
Yeah, and I love how he appeals to Bandit.
That's
too.
right.
He's like, Bandit,
you
are you hearing this?
this?
He's like, yeah, mate, where you been? He's like, Bandit just totally doesn't back him up.
He's like, no, mate.
It's great.
We heard from Joe talking about like that sitting backwards position that his
Yeah,
brother does.
that time we talked to Joe Brum.
Oh, Joe
Remember
Brum.
that?
Yeah.
We talked to Joe Brum.
That time
That's
we
right.
talked to the creator of Bluey.
I think the
You were
opening
there.
scene is classic as well. Like in all of the sequences for the different parties, we've got like such stereotypical party locations.
Oh, yeah.
The
Party
first one being
locations.
like the pagoda, but the thing that gets me is the chair that Bandit's sitting on. It's one of those folding chairs that goes like up into the middle, and it's got the cup holder that's just like the hanging bag thing.
Nice.
And I always talk about
knows
how
what
you
he's
can feel
doing.
the texture of the show.
Yeah.
That's something that I can feel, just how variably comfortable those things are.
Yeah.
And just how dusty and spider infested they get.
Yeah.
But so many things about that scene.
I love the language in this episode. It really, because to this point, Pat is largely he's an impact character, right? He's there for a short time and a good time, basically. This is arguably the Pat episode where you get a bit of a better understanding about how he operates. The fact that he's completely oblivious to the changes in the game. We're not raising a nation of squids.
Nation of
squibs. Sorry.
Isn't that funny that they actually use the word that our podcast episodes and episodes ago on this podcast.
That's right.
You brought that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was with it was when we were talking to the two bandits
Yeah,
over in
right.
America.
And I got it
Squibs.
wrong when I was talking to them. They said, "Oh yeah, they say squids," and I was like, "Maybe it's squibs." And they were completely right. It's squids.
They were right, and you brought up squibs, which was a word that many of us hadn't heard.
Yeah.
And then they put it in
the
later
show.
episode.
They do listen.
bonkers.
They really listen.
No. Sorry, what were you
Yeah,
saying?
that, and he's, it's phrased like, oh, what about the kids who miss out? Well, they can just suck it up.
Yeah.
Like it's a real, he's a real, whereas Bandit is, by this point, we accept Bandit as a lovely, well-rounded, a layered dad. He gets it on from all the possible angles. Pat is very much almost that stereotypical blokey blokes. He's still there for the fun and the games, as we know, but he's, they can suck it up. This is a nation of squibs, like just bullish, almost bullish in his rules until it begins to backfire just a little bit on the poor fella.
The line of just like, "This is not how you do pass the parcel," which just makes me think that. In my mind, is just a Brendan line. It's just
Really?
Yeah, I think that's something not exactly pass the parcel, but I could see you just getting puffed up about something not being done the right way.
I'm putting my foot down, Janelle.
100%. 100%. I'm not denying that I would do that. I think that's I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah. Like there are ways to do things.
I'm with you, Pat. Getting stuck on it and just getting backed into a corner. But still, I'm gonna say this last line, and then I'm gonna have to put up with this. This is wrong.
Yeah. Oh, this is wrong. This is all those little bits of Pat. I can't describe how they just hit the comic delivery of these lines. Like, oh, this is just wrong, and all that. Yeah, it's not the 80s, Pat.
Yeah.
So that's why I granted you some leniency earlier
with the
when
80s
you gave
reference.
the 80s
Thank you.
I really agree with you, Frank. Like the difference in relationship between now it's Chanel.
I thought it was Janelle. With
I
a
think
J.
Janelle.
She's listed as Lucky's mum on IMDb.
Sure.
And on the Bluey wiki, I don't know. I think it was different. Like I reckon. And I've said this in a previous episode. There probably is an answer, and people are probably screaming it at their speakers at the moment. But I reckon that the Disney Plus subtitles had it as one, and the ABC iView subtitles had it as another one.
Right.
I think
Conspiracy theory. Very good.
I think the Bluey wiki might have updated it to Janelle.
Anyway, Lucky's mum.
Lucky's mum.
The relationship between them is really interesting, especially when he just walks in, he's like, nah, do it this way. He's telling her what to do. And then she's just like, well, if you want it that way, you're handling it.
And then even when he looks to get bailed out
don't
her,
look at me,
she's
mate.
like, don't look at me, mate.
I love that. Yeah. No, Pat flipping out is fantastic.
I think Pat and Janelle really remind me of my Auntie Angie and her husband Darren, and
of course it would remind you from someone in your massive family.
I don't know if they know of anyone who listens. So, but they really came of age in the 80s, I think. So
Right.
Angie was just like such in that 80s pocket, her hair, and Darren still, has a bit of the mullet going on,
Right.
or at least he did a fashionable mullet. Maybe I'll cut this bit out because they're so lovely, and then but they have that. They really have that. Neighbors in the 80s vibe, was it Jason Donovan?
Jason Donovan,
that really, and it just, I don't know why, but there's something about that time, that vibe. They strike me as people who are really popular in the 80s. Yeah, and that's the vibe I get from Pat's mum and dad. Oh, sorry, from Lucky's mum and dad. I don't know, and so it really has that. That for me, maybe it's only to my ear and eye, but their vibe when they're in their place is very suitable for the time period that Pat seems to be arcing back to for the game of Pass the Parcel.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, and maybe it's a little bit of a commentary on the nature of Lucky's family, is have you noticed what they use to play the music at?
Oh,
Yes.
100%, my friend.
So it's like the painty... paint
it's a
splash.
tradies.
It's a little ghetto blaster.
Yeah.
And everyone else is, and he has trouble earlier in the episode with the touch screen. He's like, touch screens.
Yep.
And so when he does it on the item that we would have all played Pass the Parcel on, a little ka-chunk mechanical cassette player.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that it's got paint on it.
Yes.
Because who doesn't have like one of those old ones from like the early 90s that has been the tradies?
It's seen stuff.
It's been places. It could tell stories.
It's the one that nobody cared about even in 1994 when you were redoing the back room.
As you said, Marty, it's nice to see Pat begin to unravel for someone who's usually so go with the flow.
That's
and cool
true,
under
actually,
pressure.
yeah.
He's really I don't know about this.
Yeah.
I'm not cut out for this.
Not cut out. That's the line.
Yeah.
To the point where he resorts to giving all the kids $5. Like, can anyone
he
break
seems
a 20?
so strong on his morals of this game is wrong. This is not how you do it. And then when
little children cry though,
and people try and warn him that this is not how it's done anymore.
Like chili. He's like, what? And then it's just the tiniest, roundest, fluffiest dog.
Yeah.
He's going, you mean I don't get anything?
the music stopped on me.
You said, Martin, how they do sort of come round to it. And I was like, are they going to come round to it? I wasn't sure. But I love that they use that. The ultimate moral arc is sort of Bingo's journey.
Yes.
And her just like
Coming to terms
with the idea of losing. It's kind of like a cool lesson that Pat, I don't know if he was trying to teach it. I think he was just a bit of a pedant about
I think he was,
the
because
rules
he's like, in that first sequence, it's like, there's nothing on the individual layer. See, kids, it's just like life and then he just gets interrupted.
Yeah.
So
okay,
he's trying to teach them a valuable life lemon or a
life lemon.
valuable
a lime
lesson.
But
yeah, and it's all summed up in that moment when Chili turns around to Bingo in the car, is it? And she says, I reckon you're getting pretty good at losing.
You're pretty good at losing, yeah.
And it's
because she
and
says,
Bingo,
and when
and
her friend's happy, she's happy.
and it's just it's
So
really nice,
sweet.
nothing, it doesn't always go your way, not everyone's a winner all the time, and Bingo learning that lesson and becoming okay with it is really it's really special.
I tell you, the other thing that kids learned really well is the tactics that we would have all employed. Just delaying, just slowly, ever so slowly. And the second you hear that music stop, you yank it back. I've still got my hands on it. Like, it still counts. It's still mine.
Like, it's the really quick grab and then the slow turn.
For me, this is also like, it's the claw 2, because it's trying to show that a game isn't fun. Or it can be more fun. If you don't win every time. Losing isn't fun, but
you could probably reference some texts there as well, Martin, with that sort of theory, couldn't you?
Please don't put me on the spot.
From the great scholar Patrick Stewart, who once said, "To me, my X-Men." Is that no?
He's being modest, everyone. Martin had he's got 5 different bibliographies on the top of his brain.
He's got surrounded by all those
books. He knows
books.
who's written extensively on the idea of the joy being in the challenge.
Now that we're talking about Marty's library, do you know who doesn't love books? Muffin.
And
I love the quick cut.
It's so good, isn't it?
And you know what is also really funny about this? I think Erin pointed out to me. I don't know, because I didn't rewatch the episode. Naughty me. But isn't it Trixie who's organised that one? Isn't Trixie in the background running the Pass the Parcel that time?
Ooh,
I think it might be like.
right.
I think it might be
she's
like
holding the speaker, the Bluetooth speaker.
Yes.
Everybody else seems to have.
So it might be like.
She did it deliberately.
It was her mum who got
given her the books.
And
It's a good bit of headcanon.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and how funny it is that it was probably Trixie who bought the books and wrapped the books
with Muffin in mind.
With Muffin in mind, and Muffin's the one losing her biscuits about it.
Did you see who else is at Muffin's party?
No.
Buttermilk. And the horse lady, the
Of
pony
course.
lady.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Also, horse poop.
Well, here
You got to pause it on the establishing shot to that party. Just on the side, because it's all the classic things. We go through them all, don't we? We've got several different play center places. We've got the park. We've got pony rides. We've got at the beach,
There's a water park,
some sort of swimming pool center.
And,
there was something
and that
else.
bouncy, the sort of kids play gym.
Yeah, that's the one.
The one where everything goes wrong for Pat.
Party,
Adventure Center
and
side
when
thing.
Pat's running it with his cassette player, the carpet in there is just once again how this show consistently animates and illustrates different kinds of zany carpet that just completely situate you immediately. They're just hats off.
Potentially, this is a for real life, but what are the other classic birthday party scenes they could have had? For me, it was AMF bowling.
Yeah.
Could have gone AMF bowling. Time Zone.
Time Zone.
A little bit too young for Time Zone, those guys, but
I'm
just trying to think of anything else.
Time Zone was was Time Zone a national thing, or was it just
guys, Plaster Funhouse.
Plaster?
There we go.
There it is. Win-win.
He's dropped the ceramic mic on us. Wow, that's
You still have to pay for that.
Is plaster technically a ceramic? Jury's out.
Cool story.
I was just so motivated to just try and correct something on someone. Correct me on that.
Not to man best friends blame Brendan, but that's kind of annoying.
Yes! Somebody else did it again. Did someone else do it last time?
Yeah, that was me.
I just so badly wanted to make it a thing, and I was on my own for quite a while.
I do love, and I think the child's name is Jasper, the Doberman, who basically says,
What's really cool.
"Oh no, we're going to do it Lucky's dad's rules."
Yeah.
And the mum's like, "Are you sure?" Yeah. And the way she announces it, she goes, "Okay, kids and parents, Jasper has specifically requested we play Lucky's dad's rules." You what?
I want my rules.
Yeah,
They're not my rules.
Tries to get it.
They're the rules.
Puts his flag in the ground and then goes. And then when he thinks it's going to go pear shaped. No, not mine.
I love. Well, there's two bits about that scene that I love. Number one is the fact that when the mum comes across and says, "Okay, we're going to play Pass the Parcel," Pat does a spit take. He's got PTSD from last time.
Yeah, so good.
I watched it multiple times for the run through it every time.
Oh man, it's such a funny episode.
So good.
Oh man.
So that's fantastic. I think that's my moment of the episode because it caught me every time.
Oh man.
But the other bit is, the idea that kids and parents, because it shows how performative those kids' parties are. We talked about it in the cake episode. And I think I was talking about, that book on the Australians, Women's Weekly, blah, 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 cookbook, and just talking about how, you make practice cakes and you do other sorts of things, and just how it's a party not only for the children, but for the parents of your friend. And because there's a sequence of parties, how do you do something different, but also meaningful, but also special, but also, So I'm not looking forward to that. I don't like that sort of obligatory
Do you think your Ali's looking forward to that?
I don't know. We've had some fun parties, but, we keep it pretty low.
Because if one of you is excited about it, if both of you are just like, oh, geez, that's going to be an interesting time. But if you could just go, if you could just go, you
got this.
Is this why I'm not married?
I didn't want to say anything, but
that's why you are married.
Choose your battles wisely.
You know when to stop talking.
I think I could get behind it though if you could get gifts as cool as like the spray gun and
that's what turned Jasper, isn't it?
Yeah,
because he gets the gun.
It's such a cool design. It's like a little octopus.
And I think all the presents from the previous party sort of show up at the following party. Like there's one where you see like a mini drone thing that flies in, and that sort of comes in right at the tail end.
And because Bingo does her time, and she just knuckles down, and she gets better at losing, and she really hangs in there, and so it makes her moment of victory all the sweeter, because the coolest present of all
is a birdie kite.
Birdie kite!
And just the shot that they take, it's that sort of, she's on her knees looking up and the camera's looking down, and there's an echo on her voice where she shouts, birdie kite! Like,
so good.
Love it.
And maybe we should have saved that, commenting on the birdie kite right to the end, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. I love that they don't reference the birdie kite at all in the episode. They don't mention it. And then the moment you see it, you're like, is that some kind of bird kite? And Big O's just like, birdie kite! And that's, I love it, to finish the episode on something that you've only just been introduced to, but you know, unless I'm mistaken. But you know all you need to know about it from this.
She got the best present.
It's such a punch the air moment for something that it feels like a callback, but it's not. Like, it's just this bird kite, and you automatically just go, yeah, that is awesome.
Well, there is one reference among the presents too. There's a Chattermax that shows up. It's one of the presents really quickly, which was nice to see.
And that's like Bingo just kind of shrugs that one away, which is nice. We have to talk about the other conversion, which is or the other story arc, which is Pat.
Yeah.
And Pat going, oh, well, just, let him have some fun.
Yeah. They sort of meet in the middle.
They do.
Yeah, that's it. Because I think I'm a little bit torn on this episode and the concept. Because, it's kind of the first way they're doing the Parcel isn't super fun either. And they kind of present it that way, actually. It's an interesting... I think this is why I sort of resonated with the episode. It's kind of like an interesting commentary all up on like making stuff maybe a little bit too padded or the way it becomes.
It's the old sports day, participation trophy.
Yeah,
you ran a race,
that sort of thing.
Here's your medal for 8th place. Like,
But on the other side of it, it's kind of like it's a kid's party. Just let them have a good time.
Yeah.
It's like this is not the time to be teaching them a valuable life lesson.
There is a sweet spot somewhere in the middle, and I think they find
basically what it is you only put like jelly babies or something edible in each layer before the big one. That's the midpoint.
I do remember something being in the middle. Like I did go to some parties where there was like a lollipop.
Oh, something in the middle, and there was like minties.
and
stuff like that around the other. Yeah.
But only one present, one main present, like a birdie collide.
But yeah, I love Pat's like doing it in honor of Pat. Oh, good on yous, which is a very Pat type.
And
vibe.
just the final moment where Bingo actually wins because they think the thing stopped. That music, by the way,
real great tunes in this whole episode.
Speaking of Pat coming around, he has had a bit of an arc and he has come a long way. He's come on a bit of a journey because by the end, he's using that touch screen like the best of them. So he's, he has gotten with the times in one way or another. And
just not music choice, huh?
Just not music choice.
That
no,
80s power
just that
ballad.
hair metal. Just like
you could just hear it, couldn't you? I'd love to know what song Geoff Bush listened to and just went, well, I can't play that actual song because copyright, but I'm gonna just change it enough because it captured it beautifully.
It sounds like Whitesnake or something or something like that. He's
Poison. Or,
The way it lines up with the fact that most of the song plays and they're like, oh, sorry, Bingo, you didn't get it.
So
and then there's
good.
just like the last
and that's such a lad at a party thing to do, to be like playing air guitar along with this song and just trying to, I mean, I'm not saying that I would ever do this, but just trying to jam along to it in a way that you're kind of showcasing to everyone how well you know the song. This isn't like me at all, by the way. You guys have never seen me do anything like that.
That's never happened on a weekly basis.
And then Pat is the only one who knows that there's this extra little sting. He's like, wait for it. And then it's Birdie Kite. It's so good. It's like a freaking choreographed dance.
I've got a couple of doggy treats. These aren't stored in the layers of said parcel.
No.
Fun fact, did you know this is the longest single episode
That's
of Bluey?
Right. I did hear that.
This
tell
comes
me
in
more.
at just over 8 minutes, whereas all the others are sort of in that 7.5 if you count credits and those sorts of things.
That's right.
So I thought that was cool.
That was interesting.
We also learned the name of Leela's mum. Pat actually refers to her at the start, or saying Sheila. We also learned, very interestingly, the starting letter of Bluey's middle name. It's very fast, but on the montage of the birthday cards that come across, we also learned that as of this moment, Bluey is turning 7 years old, but her middle name starts with the letter C because it's actually got Bluey C. Healer.
Do you know Bluey's middle name?
Oh, really?
I'm not. Do you know? Oh,
please, Man Bear's friend, explain me on this because I actually want to know.
Well, I do,
Yeah.
and it's lovely that it is this, and I will tell you about it after. But for fear of rolled up newspapers, it is revealed in another season 3 episode that we haven't covered yet, so I won't. But it is lovely.
Okay.
All right.
Good to know.
I will disclose that to you after we press stop on this podcast. But you, dear listener, will have to just keep on listening, unless you already know it. I was trying to be tempting and tantalizing, but you can just look it up.
It's a really long way of saying suffer.
Another for real life, because we've got the montage of the, as you said, Frank. I thought I saw them as invitations going on the fridge.
Oh yes,
and
you're
I
right.
thought they must have been like photo printed things that you've done them up on your computer.
Yeah,
and it just made me remember when you used to buy the little pads of
party
invitations.
Yeah, and you got it from the $2 shop or the news agency, and they were all like, they were themed. Oh man, it brings me back.
Yeah, I can just smell the ballpoint pen.
Yeah,
whenever I think about that, and just like Oh, Mum says we've only got 6 sheets left. Who are we going to
put it on the
invite?
fridge and you can't wait till your mate's birthday party. You're going to go there on the weekend, get a lolly
Stick it on the
bag.
fridge. That's it,
Get a
lolly
little-
bag. That was the other thing,
yeah.
because there's some scenes coming home in the car. It's not emphasized too much, but I remember the plasticky lolly bags. with like the generic clown, or the more high class, sort
man,
of
that was the
whatever
best.
appropriate fun kids thing was.
Well, that I believe is the image on the title card as well. Is those little lolly bags
lolly
when the
bags.
title card comes up.
I didn't
And
spot
the thing in the ending credits is the birdie kite.
Is the birdie
being
kite,
flown.
yeah.
kite flying. Yeah.
Just going quickly back to those car rides home. Bandit eating a different piece of
Always
food
gets a snack.
every time on the way back.
He's got the fairy bread.
Yes, the
He's got
fairy bread.
He's got the ciabatta
Yep.
sort of roll things. Yeah.
That bandit healer knows what he is doing.
That's right. Dad's in the food tax. It's a thing.
He's like, well, if I'm going to go to this kid's birthday party,
I'm
I'm
going
going to capitalize on the good thing about it, which is all the food.
I made fairy bread for Naomi's second birthday, and that was fun.
Nice.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
It's got to be done.
Gotta be done.
It's got to be done. Fairy bread. Oh, folks, thank you, as always, for joining us for the party.
Here's your bag.
Here's your bag.
Here's your bag, Brendan.
Thank you.
Frank.
Thank you very much.
Listeners.
Ooh, it's got some.
There we
I was
are.
going to say.
Thanks for
I was gonna say-
coming.
I was going to say. Ooh, it's got some fairy bread in it, but that wouldn't really work in a.
Ew, that'd get
in a
messy.
party bag. Yikes.
No, you have to get that in a Tupperware container. and just
Tupperware
sort of,
container.
like,
I promise I'll return the Tupperware at the party that we'll all be at next time. And you know where to find the party, everyone. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you very much for having us.
And thank you, Martin.
thank you, Brandon.
We'll all be at that party. Has this gone on too long? You're all invited. Aisle 300.
Left of the fake grass.
And if you hit a flamingo, you've gone too far.
Created and produced by Frank, Brendan and Marty. You can follow the Hammerbarn Project on facebook.com/HammerbarnProj, at HammerbarnProj on Twitter, or Hammerbarn_project on Instagram. Theme featuring Nibblings, Kaylee, Jade, Ashley and Reese, and PA announcements by brother-in-law, me, Josh. Thanks for listening, and remember to get down to Hammerbarn for cheap shovels.